Hey folks, and welcome to Truck King. Today we're taking our first look at this, the 5th generation Ford Expedition. And for this new model, Ford has added new technology, more towing, and maybe most importantly, a new off-road Tremor model, and we're gonna tell you all about it right now. Let's start in with the powertrain. So exclusively powering the Expedition is the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. At base levels, it makes 400 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, but if you step up to the high output version, you're getting 440 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through a 10-speed automatic. The powertrains here haven't changed, although Ford did say that they did have to update a number of things with the emissions system to make sure this will pass new emissions standards. So we're getting the same output, but there is less emissions from this gen of Expedition. Now yes, powertrain hasn't changed. The other thing that hasn't really changed here, the overall dimensions, length, width, the size of this thing is the same, so they didn't decide to stretch it out or anything like that, but you can still get the standard wheelbase model, which is here behind me, or the Max, which yes, does make that wheelbase even longer. Now, as we roll down the side, you've already seen the styling. Again, it's massaged for 2025, but not a massive update. The biggest change is up there in that grille. When you get to the back, though, is when you're really gonna see one of the big changes, and it's right here. This is the new split gate. So yes, you have a small tailgate down below, and then the upper 3/4 of this thing raises straight up. Now there's a number of reasons why I think Ford did this. The first one, which they kept claiming, is that when this gate is closed and you have things in the back, nothing's ever gonna roll out again. So if you've ever had a wine bottle or some fruit or something back there loose, groceries, and they rolled out when you stopped, well, that's gonna prevent this because this gate can stay closed and you can just reach over and grab your stuff. Now, besides that, they've also made it more of a tailgating space, and they did tell us that this is good for 600 pounds, so I know I can sit up here and it's gonna be okay. And then the other thing they've added back here is zone lighting. So they've added spotlights up there in the roof rails, over here in the hatch itself, in the tail lights as well, so you can really illuminate this area at night. So there's a number of features that really were unlocked by going with this split gate. Now, another thing they did, sorry, Dad, what's up?
I was just going to say, are any of these features available over on a Suburban?
Of course not. GM doesn't have the split gate, and Ford kept sort of saying that to us, is this is one of those unique things now in the segment that they're hoping will draw customers away from any other brand, but yes, definitely GM as well. The other thing you're gonna see with the third row, they now have a 60-40-60 split. So you can just put down that center position. And then in this case, they've packed it with kayak paddles, fishing gear. You could put 2x4s in there. For me personally, I just like the idea of putting my kids in 2 separate rear corners and then separating them down the middle so that they can't fight in the back. But yeah, that's another way in which this Expedition has been made more flexible for cargo. Now, because we're at the back, I also have to talk to you about towing, because that has been improved in a couple of different ways for 2025. First of all, overall, the tow rating has been boosted a little bit up to 9,600 pounds, which is a big number for a full-size SUV. But maybe more importantly and more interestingly, Ford said they specifically worked on towing without an equalizing hitch. Now, the majority of vehicles are only rated to tow up to 5,000 pounds before an equalizing hitch becomes necessary. Ford has boosted that with the Expedition up to 7,000 pounds. So they're saying you can do $7,000 and not have to add those weight bars on the back, which is just one extra piece of equipment you have to learn to deal with. Now, they did this in a couple of different ways. The first one is just suspension tuning. The suspension here has totally been changed. And then suspension geometry, which Ford claims is gonna make sure that your nose doesn't lift up too high when you have that 7,000 pounds on the back. Plus, the hitch itself just needed to be strengthened. So they've done all of those things to help with the towing experience and help you not have to deal with an equalizing hitch. That's something I would love to put to the test, and you know we will as soon as we can get our hands on one of these Expeditions. Here on the interior, things really changed. Nothing looks like the last gen Expedition. And maybe more importantly, it's more different than an F-150 than ever. Ford really wanted to differentiate its full-size SUVs from its full-size pickup trucks. First thing you're gonna notice, a huge 24-inch screen up here in front of me. So it's gonna act as my gauge cluster here on the left. And then as it moves right, you can put different information up there. Right now it's maps and also off-road inclinometer. But yeah, that's a big, gorgeous screen. I do like that they've kind of positioned it so tall, the idea being you don't have to take your eyes off the road for very long to get the information that you need. And then we still have sort of the standard position for our center stack touchscreen. Now, Ford has also moved to Google Maps on board, so that provides all of their navigation system. I like to see that. We still have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as well, so all the tech features you want are here. Now, the other thing they've added for Expedition is Blue Cruise, which is hands-free driving when you're on certain pre-mapped highways. The one, I think, point of interest with Blue Cruise is they're offering a different way to purchase it now. So you can go with a subscription model. If you do that, you get it for free for 90 days, and then after that, you can choose to go monthly or annually. Or there is a one-time fee at purchase that you can pay to get Blue Cruise installed in your vehicle, sort of like features always have been. So I think maybe Ford felt the pushback on some of the subscription idea, and they want to offer that one-time fee. Plus, I think for dealers, it's a great way for them to be like, hey, you know what, why don't you just pay for this now and not worry about the subscription? So it's also a good selling tool. So yes, they've changed up sort of how you can get into Blue Cruise.
It's a good idea simply because, like, I hate forced subscriptions.
Right.
I should either be able to buy it, not buy it, or the other thing they mentioned, Steve, is that you can get it for 90 days right up front free, and then after that you can still take any one of those options, either purchase it, buy it monthly, annually, or not at all.
Right. So yes, they are looking at how they're selling these things and definitely trying to come up with more clever ways to do so. So yeah, totally different feeling interior here. There's one other really practical feature that I do like. Down here in our center console, things are pretty standard. We have our small bin. They can close up. Cup holders here, cup holders in the back as well. But the cool feature is this entire thing slides and opens up what is a monstrous storage bin down here, big enough for a small backpack or a purse. They sort of kept calling out the purse as the thing you'd love to
more
put
likely
down in
a
there.
purse.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. And what's cool is the space doesn't get taken up when this slides back. So you could put something down in there, and then you can close it up, and now it's just covered storage. So it's also a good place to hide your stuff if you need to do that as well. Now, I was sitting in the back seat when they demonstrated this, and yes, it does eat up a little bit of your leg room for the rear passengers, but really it's not too bad. It just sort of comes back right into that middle position, which is nice. Now, speaking of the back seats, there's another cool thing they've done. They've added device holders on the backs of the headrests. So we're past the point of brands, or Ford specifically, saying, we're gonna give you more screens. What they're saying now is you already own a ton of screens. You have them configured as you like. So we're just gonna install a holder. So you wanna bring your tablet, you wanna bring your phone, you can attach it to that seat back and watch all the media that you already have on there. Now we're gonna have a closer look at this, the brand new Expedition Tremor. So yes, this replaces the Timberline in the lineup, and this is definitely a step up from the Timberline as well in terms of off-road capability and equipment. Now probably the biggest upgrade right there, a set of 33-inch General Grabber tires. Going for a better set of tires is always going to be your most influential off-road upgrade. So nice to see Ford has done that. Now, one little detail, they're coming with those painted pockets. That is where you're going to always find your air filler stem, so to be able to sort of identify it quickly, I think that's kind of neat. There is unique style here too, just in terms of the accents, the grille. One thing you're going to notice, they've actually built in these auxiliary off-road lights. Now these are for off-road use only, but it's nice to see that. I like to see more brands building in things like off-road lights into their grille because they're so nicely integrated. It's not some big light bar sticking out above the bumper or below the bumper. Now down below here, You are getting a nice set of tow hooks. They're also sort of that orange color, so a nice place to grab onto. And then a full skid plate package underneath this Expedition as well to make sure it's going to stay protected. And then another big deal with an off-road upgrade, you are getting a rear locking differential here on your Expedition. Now, outside of that, there's a lot of technology that's also come to this model. Things like trail turn assist. That's where if you're turning a tight corner off-road, it's gonna lock up the rear inside wheel and help the entire vehicle rotate. We've tested it on F-150s and Broncos and Super Duties, and it really does work well. And the bigger the vehicle, I think the more important it is. So yes, trail turn assist is here. Trail one pedal drive, which as the name suggests means you only need to use the throttle and you don't have to worry about the brake. So they've really brought all of those good off-road systems over here to the Expedition Tremor as well. Outside of those off-road upgrades, yes, every Expedition has new styling, so they've all changed, but I really do think the Tremor stands out. It gets a lot of these black features, black accents, and then you're still getting that cool kind of golden orange around the lettering and up front. And this split gate looks really cool with sort of the top half black and the bottom half body color. So that looks pretty neat to me as well. Now, you know what? Why don't you drop in the comments now and let us know what you think of the styling on this Expedition. And sorry for some of the poor lighting. We're in a warehouse right now, so it's a little bit sort of hot spots here and low spots there. But we did our best to show this thing to you. So yeah, drop in the comments and let me know what you think of the style. Now, I told you there's a Max model available. It's right here, and you can really tell by this rear overhang behind the rear axle. This is where all the space gets added. So if you want more space in the back of your Expedition, this is the one you want. And I do want to show off sort of the tailgating party tricks back here, because you saw it loaded with gear. But you can see set up right here, Ford has this load divider. So this can be sitting here and you can place things on it when the tailgate's closed, or you can flip it out, drop down the legs, and there's your little table for, yeah, if you're hanging out back here, if you are tailgating, you can use that to set things up on, or drop the legs, stick it in like that, and then it becomes your backrest for sitting there watching the game. So they really have thought this through, and yes, if you love tailgating, they've definitely paid a lot of attention to you.
I just like how that split gate keeps all my 7 footballs inside the truck.
That it does.
Which I always travel with.
There you go. Well, folks, we're coming to the end of this one now. As you've seen, yes, there's a lot about this Expedition that didn't change in terms of the size and the powertrains, but it does seem like Ford took the feedback from their customers and tried to make it stand out in a number of ways with things like the Tremor and that split tailgate. So now all we can do is sit back and see if it works and if they can gain market share in this full-size SUV segment. And like I said earlier, you know, as soon as we can get our hands on one, we will. And I'm excited to tow with this thing and really see how it feels. Anything else to add from behind the camera, Dad?
They made a point of putting everything in it that you can't get over at GM.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, folks, that's it for this one. Now, please drop in the comments. Let us know what you think of this new Expedition. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.